This meeting can be visually seen on Zoom. Be able to access the number there. We have a roll call.
Chair Blackwelder,
Here.
Director Campbell,
Here.
Director Florida,
Here.
Director Askew.
I'm here.
All right. Is there any public communications that's not on the agenda? Any public out there at all?
There's showing no members of the public.
Okay, so then we'll go to public discussion and action. Receive March 1st, 2023 Personnel Committee study session summary. Okay.
I move that we receive it.
Okay. Then I'll second it and we'll have it received. How's that?
We need to have a roll call
We do.
since someone's participating via Zoom.
All right, let's do that. Roll call, please.
Chair Campbell,
Yes.
Director Florida,
Yes,
Director Askew,
Yes.
Chair Blackwelder,
Yes.
motion passes.
Then we'll go to the review of the general manager evaluation process. Who's doing that? We're done.
Roberta's going to do that.
Right, that's what I wanted.
Just jump right in. So at this point, I did a 360 manager evaluation that was conducted by the board. I think it was my 6-month review at my 8-month period in time.
February.
And so we did that and we successfully did it. At this point, we are looking to the personnel committee if we want to see anything changed or added to that process of evaluation. And the next evaluation would be probably conducted right around the fiscal year of July.
I've looked through it all and I saw your calendar of events of how you plan on going forward with it. I looked at everything looks exactly the same. To me, it's comprehensive. So does anybody have issue with it? Want to add anything
I
to it?
just have a question. So this is something we do in-house. There's not a person that we hire to conduct interviews and all that.
That is correct. It is conducted in-house, so everybody will get an evaluation form. And then the rankings are given in the evaluation form. And then there is a compiled consensus of the evaluation form. So I wouldn't know how Jerry would rank me directly. I get a consensus of the full board on how many rankings I got in a particular category. So if I was doing an average job and 4 of the 9 members, I would see 4 X's there. I wouldn't know exactly who were the 4 X's, but I would know that I got evaluated by 4 of the board members in that classification, and then the other would reside in another, maybe exceeds expectations, would reside there as well. So we would see a total of 9 evaluations over the 1 line criteria. And it would be noted on how many of the board members evaluated me with the same ranking.
And the process is overseen and that compilation is done by HR.
No, escape me that we're not doing a 360 anymore. We're not including executive staff and
We
employees.
are, we're doing both internal and external stakeholders.
Okay.
So all
For the annual,
Well, that's up to you all. So we have in the past, the process that I drafted did not include that. It's up to you if you want to include that.
Well, that should have been enough. Was that kind of a recommendation that you're having?
No, yeah, I'm really just presenting the standard review. For the first year, it's the regular review, and you can do internal assessments by, like we did for his probationary period, where they complete the same review and they rank him on use the same form that the board would be using.
No.
And then I collate it, then it's an internal, or what we've done in the past is a different questionnaire for internal stakeholders and then another one for external stakeholders, if that is what you would like to be
Well,
done.
I like what we were doing with 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was, I just like to have the whole point of the 360. Obviously, is to give you the 360 view, because we come from our own areas and stuff, and we're not watching you all the time. And also it's a benefit to yourself if you find out that, oh, it looks like people think that maybe, you know, I could do better in this area.
Yep.
Then you can improve. It shouldn't be considered a negative thing. It's just a, you know, just keep everybody honest.
So they like the existing form, but I gave a little introduction already on it.
Okay,
And so what I'm hearing is that this committee would like to see the board continue the same form, and then also our directors, staff to give the feedback as well, like the way we did for my,
for the
For-
probationary review.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that sounds good to me, because I'm curious to see how it compares. The internal, last time the internal one did not, did you get a great response? I don't remember a great response from the internal.
I think there was, we sent it to, you requested that it be sent to all the managers and supervisors.
Mhm.
I think we got majority.
Oh, we
I
did,
don't
okay.
remember off the top of my head,
Okay.
but there may have been three people who did it out of 17.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So,
great. So I'm totally up for that as well. But external, I personally, I'm at this point, I don't really, I don't care what they think.
Right.
No, I don't see why we need to bother, other general managers and such for
Yeah.
input at this point.
If they were working with them, for instance, in the city, you know, you'd like to know that your city manager is involved with the fancy and waste management and different other things, that you're being represented there. In this case, I guess that's not the case. We're not trying to represent ourselves
Right.
in other places. The only other person would be our neighbor, and I think he likes you, so it's.
We can always go ask him what he thinks. But,
Yeah, just so that, you know, everything's humming here nicely. I mean, I have no, I think everything's going great. I think that we have some really interesting things that we got on our plate. It's just a lot of little things are like that.
and
The problem, if you just get one person, it's, you got just, you know, you sort of stick him out there with his views.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why if you're gonna do external, you want to have 2 or 3 or 4 people.
Mhm.
So you can say, here's what 2 or 3 or 4 people thought, rather than, well, here's what Keith thought.
Right. Oh,
So please explain to me the difference between, oh, so we have board evaluation, internal managers, and what are you talking about external?
Once you explain.
so, external stakeholders are, for example, could be all of the TAC, members of the TAC. So haulers, people that, this agency interacts with to do business on a regular basis. So in the past,
Who did we use last time? What, as an
it
example?
was all of the members of the TAC.
All right,
And then in reality, Tim Flanagan came up with a list of other external representatives of cities that he regularly interacted with. Really, that's what it was, haulers and city reps.
did you have other general managers?
Shudo was one for sure.
Yeah,
from
for sure.
Monterey
Yeah, that's the
Water.
one we interface with.
Yeah, I don't remember if there were any other general
I
managers.
don't,
It was really people we do business with.
yeah,
well, maybe this time we just do internal here, and then we can look at that list
When he's
and
here
see what
longer.
would be kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have it too gigantic, but you know, like you say, Monterey One Water and people like that.
Yeah, periodically, it's probably a good thing for everybody.
Yes.
well, since we just did it 6 months ago, you know.
Right.
It's probably.
we just did it in February.
We didn't do external, we've never done external with, except for the hiring process, right? I mean, we did
Yes.
have, when we went through the hiring process, we had external people review the applications and obviously,
And participate on the panels.
and participate, and obviously Felipe fared quite well. And so I just don't feel like I feel like
Yeah.
it's stale information or anything, so I'm fine with continuing on. And if I'm correct, Berta compiles all the responses. However, just I guess to keep Berta honest or whatever, the chair and vice chair got to see all the responses as well. So
Okay.
it's kind of, you know, just so you know it doesn't go into, I'm not calling you a black hole, but yeah. It's like- but-
Go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, no, thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt, Jason. But I think generally I agree with the idea of internal. If Felipe thinks the 360 would be beneficial to his ability to manage and lead, I support. I'll defer to you, Felipe, on what you think. But it sounds like the board is in favor of a 360. The only question I had was in terms of the procedure. We have the June 2023 closed session self-evaluation presentation by the GM. Felipe, will you be submitting your summary in advance of that, your written summary of your accomplishments and your progress on the goals that were outlined in our previous evaluation? So we'll get a written summary to then discuss at that meeting.
I think that's what I did last time, right?
So-
I did my own self-assessment with the summary and narratives of my accomplishments on it.
Right,
Yeah.
so what we did last for the 6-month review was the same form, which is attachment B. Felipe completed for himself. Then we use the same form for all the managers to complete to evaluate Felipe. And then Felipe presented his completed form in closed session. And then at the same time, that meeting, you received the manager's completed assessment. And then the following month, after you reviewed Felipe's review form and the manager's internal review form, then you presented him with your utilizing the same document.
Right, and I think it's really that page 3 or the final page of the general manager performance evaluation where I'm looking for the narrative from Felipe that outlines what his accomplishments are so that I can then, when the board is completing our evaluation, we've got that in front of us to have that conversation. And it just wasn't clear to me on the timeline, of the way that the description for the agenda discussion actions was listed, whether we would have that in advance of completing our evaluations. So it sounds like it is, so I'm all good.
Okay. Yep, I will review that procedure and make sure that it's clear.
Just Bert, if I can get a bigger page 3, because that little small box. I can get.
Can I, on the calendar, so
Addendum.
I just noticed, so, I mean, the board meeting in June, it says closed session self-evaluation presented by the GM, and then by Friday, June 30th, which is a fairly short window, but we should all be able to do it, is the window for us to
Do your form
do our form
and send it into me
and send it into you.
so that I can get it ready for so you can present it to him at the July board meeting.
Okay, so, all right, so we according to the calendar, we will receive Felipe's, and then we have a matter of a week or so to fill ours out.
It may make sense to have that be longer than a week. I know I've got 3 of these on my desk right now for other committees and boards that I sit on. And in order to do a really thoughtful set of comments and response, sometimes it takes a minute to kind of sit down and block that time. So we may want to adjust our timeline so that we allow for that thoughtful response from all board members.
And the managers.
I think if I get it by the 9th of July, that gives you 2 full weeks. Because that's the week that we have to prepare packet, right, Ida? Yes. The week of July 9th. Yes. If I have it by that Sunday, then that Monday I start compiling it and getting it ready for the board packet. That work?
That should work.
So we're substituting July.
9th for June 30th when
Okay.
their board meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry, Wendy, I'll let you copy mine.
If I'm late.
Thanks, Jason.
Remember that you said July 9th? Yes.
Yes.
Sunday. Yeah, if they could get it to me an email, I think it's fine, yeah. You might want to work on it on the weekend.
Okay, so are we? Basically, there's a consensus that we're gonna go forward with this. Okay, is there any other thing that we need to do? Any motions or anything? Or are we good with
I
consensus?
think you're good
All right.
on that.
Thank you.
That was a consensus then of the team.
Yes.
Go forward with the recommendation.
Mhm.
And now we're at the General Manager Communications.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few items today. So update on Power cleanup. We continue to support the many customers coming from that community and other communities like Santa Cruz and Monterey County. We've seen an uptick in our volume and our customer accounts. If you didn't notice, additional volume, you may enter at certain times of the day and the line may be halfway down Charlie Benson Road. And we're using site crew to support and navigate folks. We're using our electronic billboard to say expect delays. The day immediately after our residents were allowed back into their location, we had a record-breaking day of 947 inbound transactions. Our average had been around 600 or 700, and our high number was 800. It was a huge accomplishment. So we surpassed that by over 100 customers. And then we had also transactions that were coming outside that were above normal, and they were around 300. So we had about 1,400 transactions when we normally take 600. And to a lot of credit of the staff and the operations and the scale crew, they did that with one scale being down as well. And so we continue to see uptick in the volume. So really, really happy with the planning and really seeing the impacts happening right in front of us. So we're excited to continue to support. We also are preparing our workforce. Is that for the next 30 to 120 days, we're going to expect above average in volume, above average in what we're doing on a daily basis, and really getting our workforce prepared for a trek of additional work that we're seeing from the impacts of the severe weather. Waste management and La Una are at an impasse right now. And so you can see the education demonstration that they're putting out front. They want awareness around the community. It did create a little bit of confusion for our staff last Monday when they came out for 2 days. And this is the first day out this week. And so I went around and we put out some information to our internal workforce to let them know that it was education. It was a way for them to create awareness. We did reach out to Rob and Rick Bolanos to get information back for a position. Having the public right away, not interrupting our operation, not interfering with our staff going to work. So they've been cordial. They have not been intimidating, but it has created a residual impact of what's going on at ReGen Monterey. We did have Recology drivers stop right in the middle of getting to the scale, and we're not willing to cross a picket line. They did have a union representative here that talked to his union steward, and they came to agreement that they're not crossing a picket. That would actually occur at the facility in Castroville for them crossing a picket. So at this point, it's been quiet. This is the first day back since last Tuesday. And it's a small group, and we're just hoping that there's a fair process for both parties. And this is an update on that. We are participating in Earth Day events across the area. We are question from Director Rudasky.
Yeah, thank you. Just in regards to there's been a number of questions. So the county holds a contract with Waste Management, and so we've been involved or pulled into the situation. I just want to thank you, Felipe, for being available to me to help me understand sort of how all these pieces fit together. Your advice and just sort of guidance around how the jigsaws work was really, really valuable, and thank you for that. I did have a question. There are accusations of loads being mixed by the strike drivers. And I was just curious, I know that that's a contract compliance issue that the county would have with our contract, but as those loads come into ReGen, what requirements do we have to ensure that separation of materials between recycling and trash is happening? Can you help me understand that the ReGen role in having mixed loads being delivered?
Yeah, so I was aware of the mixed loads because I talked to Jay about how the materials were being picked up through a video that was passed along. And so we knew that they were mixing the loads in. So what we did was we did a load verification check with the first loads that were coming in. So anything that's MSW obviously is going up to the face of the landfill. But we are doing load checks on what they announce as green waste or as recycling when they're coming in, because it would have an influx of our labor workforce on what they're doing. And we wouldn't want recyclables and trash to wind up at the compost yard. We don't want trash and compostables to wind up in our MRF yard. So they're declaring what the items are, and if they're mixing it, they're declaring it as trash. We did notify the hauler. Jay contacted Ivan Solorio with Waste Management and let them know that we are seeing materials mixed together, and that is not appropriate for what we're doing, and around Senate Bill 1383 and AB 939, that we were not going to support the conduct. And so they specifically said that they were going to talk to the driver of support and stop the process. So maybe Jay, you can give me an update on any additional loads that you might have seen since then.
No, it's been pretty good since that one conversation, and they have added more drivers. So, we're not seeing the contamination now, neither is Keith Day.
Okay. And then I guess the other question that I have is in regards to, so the County of Monterey has a contract with Waste Management, but ReGen also has a contract with Waste Management. So does a ReGen contract with Waste Management speak to contract compliance around mixed loads?
We don't have a contract with Waste Management. We do not. We have a recycling agreement with them on processing their recycled material, but I don't believe that it outlines anything with a mixed load other than, we would declare it that it's trash and we would direct it to the hole. So, Mr.
Okay.
Guy,
And then-
comment on that?
Yeah, and then sort of my final question on all of this, and then we can maybe get some more information. But so when ReGen does our waste audits about contaminated waste streams, if there is contaminated waste streams coming in, is that going to count against ReGen when we have our next waste stream audit? And maybe it's a question for another time or an answer for later, but I've got you guys right now, so.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your commitment to helping get a resolution for both parties. We will continue to monitor and we'll reach out to you if we see that. Is there a desire for us to reach out to the LEA and notify them when we do see these mixed loads come in?
To the LEA.
That would be Maria Ferdinand from the Health Department of Monterey County.
Yeah, I think it would be because the county does have provisions in the contract around mixed loads. So if you do see them, I think it would be great to notify the county, because the county isn't, from what I understand, currently doing contract compliance on, they're doing contract compliance on fiscal side issues, but not on the actual operation side issues.
Okay.
So yes, thank you. That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Felipe.
You're welcome.
Along the same lines, just since we're on the topic, the question was them picketing on the campus here. That came out early, and I just for clarification's sake, this is public property basically, so they are allowed to picket here.
Correct, and as Felipe said, as long as there's no interference or obstruction of free access to the site as a public facility.
Okay, great.
And it's not considered picketing, it's considered educational.
Well, it's a picket. I mean, it's a picket line, but it's when you're not trying to bar people from crossing the picket line, which they're not trying to force people not to cross the picket line, like running it across the road, which you can't do. But so it becomes an educational. The purpose is to let people know their concerns.
Okay.
Thank you.
And sorry, one more thing. While we're on this topic, just for the rest of the committee, I think it's important to acknowledge and recognize there's a lot of folks who are very concerned about getting the trash off of the street in Pajaro. And there's a lack of understanding about the relationship between the waste management strike and the pickup of trash in Pajaro. But I just want everyone to know the county has a separate contract with a different group of haulers to do the trash cleanup in accordance with very specific FEMA guidelines in Pajaro. So the strike for waste management is only potentially impacting the regular garbage service. It's not impacting the FEMA waste debris removal in Pajaro. The county has a separate contract for that. So we've been doing a lot of letting people know about the difference between those things. And also we need to keep doing better to get the trash off the street, but that's not ReGen, or that's not waste management's problem. Thank you.
They seem to have some substitute drivers. I was gonna say, we were picked up at where I live, just outside of the city limits by Waste Management, and our waste was picked up this last week.
Yeah, so they do have
Where are they coming from?
substitute drivers that are coming from probably the Northern California area for non-union sites. They're either utilizing non-union employees and non-union managers to help provide some services throughout the area. And I believe the union had notified Waste Management of the strike, and they gave a 2-week period for the striking. So we have a period where we're coming to the end of that 2-week period. We will see what happens next. I don't want to speak that I'm aware of they are or are not going to be coming back to work, but we will see what happens on Monday.
My partner has noted several instances where she saw unsafe maneuvers by the trucks out there. Just it's
Yeah,
we can tell it's not the regular crew out there for sure.
I got a call from I want to say Richard Kelly, and he's from the Portola community area. Sits on a specific board. He didn't leave a phone number for me to call back, but he did specify that the loads were being they're picking up every can that's at the curb at the same time. So we're going to continue to have to monitor the loads that are coming in that are specified to organics or to the recycling facility, and then we'll notify the county as we encounter those instances.
I have a question. Do we charge more depending on what kind of load is coming in? Do we charge more for trash than we do for recycling?
Yes. So we charge $70 a ton right now for solid waste, $40 a ton for recycling processing.
Mhm.
And depending whether you have clean green waste or food waste, there's a separate rate. It's a little bit lower than the solid waste attribute.
So when they come in with the mixed load that they aren't supposed to have, we're charging them more.
We're charging them the full amount, and we're treating it all like solid waste. The problem is it becomes a daunting task for us to try to get all those properties out when they're all mixed together and they've been compacted together. Essentially, it does become contaminated material and it winds up in the face of the landfill, which defeats everything we've done for the last 30 years here.
Well, I think, Felipe, to that point too, it not only does it defeat what we're doing, but it defeats the messaging that we've worked so hard to put out to our consumers. When a consumer sees a truck picking up all the garbage and putting it into the same truck, they don't know that there's a strike. They don't know that there's other factors. They see, why am I going to such great efforts inside my home to separate waste streams when the truck just picks it all up? I mean, it is a huge step backwards for our public awareness efforts at the ReGen district.
Agreed.
And it's also, if they're throwing the batteries and everything in there, that's not a good thing either. And
Correct.
Yeah. We have enough challenges.
yes. And some people doubt that everything is being sorted anyway, and this just throws fuel on the fire.
We're still waiting for the tour because they want us to demonstrate that we do process recyclables.
Well, you know, Wendy asked a question about whether Waste Management had a contract with us, with ReGen, and it's not, we don't control it by a contract, but we control it by what we allow in and how we check for the loads. I mean, we have our own regulations and rules, and we enforce those. That's how we control the matter.
Thank you, sir. Continuing on the general comments, we do have the Western Conference Regional Symposium going on in Monterey at the Hyatt Regency. That is SWANA, the national organization around solid waste. I do want to thank the Pub Ed team. They volunteered to help the event and the registration process. They're in day 2 and they'll go through tomorrow. And also the education team participated in some of the educational courses that were going on. I did attend yesterday for part of the day. And today I had these meetings today, so I'm not there yet, but I'd like to be there later on this afternoon. So really big support. They haven't had the Western Regional Symposium happen since 2008 in Monterey. So there's been some time that's gone by. So we're excited to have it here. When we look at SWANA, it was created by the 3 organizations or the 3 chapters that now exist in California. As one of them is the Golders chapter, which we have members from our team sit on that board. It's the first time that all 3 of those agencies come together in quite some time. So we're excited to continue to push on SWANA's vision for the future. And their vision is really to get us off the top 10 list of unsafe occupations to have is their number 1 priority. DEI is another one of their priorities. And the other priority is to invest a lot of time with young professionals to really create a view and a vision for the younger generation that our industry lacks the talent that we desire to have. In today's time, it's really difficult to fill some of the roles and positions because they don't know what it entails. So we're really want to work with SWANA on that young professionals avenue. It's a group that runs itself, young professionals, and they're going to be the next general managers, the next directors of the future, and really give us a vision to continuing the pioneering that's been done up to this point around waste management. So I'm pretty excited that we attended. We were also a sponsor, so I'm pretty excited. There's a significant amount of folks out there learning about what we do here. We supported 4 tours. We still have another tour tomorrow, and bringing a whole bunch of people here to look at the gym we call ReGen Monterey. So I'm pretty excited about where we're at.
May I ask a question about that? We've got CSUMB right here, and they've added studies and majors in agricultural fields. Is there any opportunity at CSUMB to add some sort of waste management?
I think there is. We work with Daniel Fernandez. He's Dr. Daniel Fernandez he's a CSUMB professor. Jay participated this year. We sit on a panel review for his economics class that shares a little bit of what we're doing. They have a read or a book read that entails a recycling, a vision and view of what it was and where it's at today. And we get to participate in it, but I would like to expand that to an educational course of pathways to the engineering roles and what does it take to be an engineer in solid waste? What does it take to be a general manager, director? The many job opportunities, and we were really lacking quality candidates for job roles. I've been here for 15 months now, and the challenge with those more difficult positions, they take time to fill, and it costs us money to try to get people here. It's a difficult transition for folks to leave an area where economics are completely different than living on the peninsula or in the valley. Home cost of homes and the wages sometimes are still not enough to make the move and come out and live in our area.
Yeah, it would seem that with all the interest in environmental studies, this is just another one in a different area, and creating energy and creating good nutrients for food and so on. It seems like it's just made for a major over there.
Yes. I appreciate those comments, and we'll talk to Dr. Fernandez to see if he has an avenue that we can take to really put us on.
And the new head of CSUMB is a very enthusiastic woman. She is really into the students and expanding studies for the students, so I think she would be a candidate for a tour.
Thank you.
Karen, I love that idea. And if I could have anything I wanted at CSUMB and or MPC, they only allow professors who have master's degrees. And I would love to teach like a one-off course, like Intro to Poli-Sci. I'm sure Felipe would be a phenomenal instructor for like a one-off course and inspire more than any career path ever could. But I'm never going back to school to get that master's degree. So if you have any influence with Vanya and can convince her to have the CSU system open up adjunct faculty to non-master's degree students, I'm sure we would be able to have a ton of people from the community inspire our kids on some of these career paths. So love the idea, but yeah, sorry, thank you.
Felipe, you said DEI, I think you said, and I didn't, what is that?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
No, thank you, I should know that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you know, and it's we here in our organization have seen that happen in a short amount of time. And I'm very proud of our mixture that we have here of personnel and staff, men and women. I think we are definitely breaking the barriers and the pathways that we have seen traditionally in this organization, also in the whole solid waste field. And I think that's where SWANA's at right now. They feel we also need to get input from other folks, and we've kind of been on this clear path. So they really call it out in their vision and the future. So I'm pretty excited about it. The representation has been a single type of representation, and I think it's changing right in front. I've been asked by SWANA to participate in their DEI group, so they have specific groups for many different topics. And so I've been asked, and I will see what the ask entails more of, and then I'll report back to the board as I get more information.
And what does DEI stand for again?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
More acronyms,
Yes.
more things for that acronym list.
Yes. The last item I have is, I'd like to announce to this group here, and I will do so at the board meeting as well, is that we have a title change for our HR manager. Ms. Berta Torres is, will now be Director of Human Resources, Berta Torres. So Director Torres, congratulations on your trek here at ReGen Monterey. Berta's been here for 7 years, and you know, her duties and responsibility follow those in line with the Director of Human Resources identified in the 2020 comp study, and she's performed very well for the organization. The title change will not affect the compensation at this time. She's in a salary range that falls within the compensation study, so at this point, we're excited to announce the title change. She's been part of the leadership team since 2016. She participates in a lot of the meetings and always has been the working manager. She's helped collaborate in the prior 5 labor contracting. She's a professional at what she does. Go and ask her, Helen and I go and ask her what's going on. 0 labor lawsuits since she joined the district in 2014. She had 1 EEOC, which you want to give the acronym from Ms. Benedetto.
That's what's in EEOC.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So we had one complaint that it was closed without any action.
And mysterious, she died.
We also had a PERB chart. You want to give the PERB?
The Public Employers Relations Board. So it's yeah.
Sometimes you just can't do everything correct or get away with anything.
So there was a perp charge that again got dismissed without prejudice.
Yeah, exactly.
It almost sounded like a perp.
She's also helped with the employee recognition program, the employee wellness program, works to seek input from the frontline staff, develop the new manager's performance review, employee handbook, including numerous personnel policies. Her contributions during COVID-19 were exactly what the district needed. At this time, I would like to thank for her contributions and her service, and congratulations to the director role.
Congratulations.
And definitely well earned. I mean, I think you're the most efficient person that I've run into in a long time. I mean, it just has everything nailed down, you know, whenever we got into any type of thing, oh yeah, I got everything lined up for that. I know exactly what they did on what date, what time it was, when it happened. You know, in construction, when you run a job, you have daily reports. And those are legal documents in case something happens. And so she understands that, and that's, everything is perfect. So if you have all of those lined up perfectly, if there's some dispute that comes against you from somebody and you show that, more times than not, the executive is going out. So, okay, and she's very efficient at it. So.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Blackwelder.
Absolutely well deserved. Absolutely. And that's, I mean, you've been here longer than I have, but at the same time, it just, you seem to have so much experience and knowledge the whole way through.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
just, yeah, there's never been a hiccup as far as I know with the HR and negotiations, which we'll get into, but all that, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that will conclude my general manager comments.
Anything for future agenda items? Or no?
I don't, but I do have one item, which is the white paper. Will come in the next meeting. We're getting the last final comments in there from the narrator, and we should have maybe a draft for the next meeting. I'm pretty excited about that. Great. I think it'll maybe still require some inputs. We would like you know, some pretty blunt feedback from the board members on, does it represent what we've been trying to demonstrate and share with the board? Is some of it has been decisions made in the past, why we get outside tons, how much those tons cost, why, how much we pay, why, and really narrow down some of the items that we've been focused on here at the district.
Also, to back way up, on these mixed loads.
Yep.
Can you tell them that, next time this happens, we will not accept it?
We can.
And just say, hey, 1383 is the law, and we intend to follow the letter of the law, and so we can't. You're gonna have to figure this out ahead of time. I mean.
So Rob, if we could look at something off after this meeting and really follow up on what would the letter look like to this management from us for them not complying with 1383, and we're already observed loads coming in.
Right.
And at what point would we turn them away for processing recyclables and probably processing the compost?
Because I mean, because it seems to me, since the onus is on the communities for this, for, you know, diversion and separation, and then to have that be, you know, screwed up by the hauler, and it's still, the onus is still on the communities.
Yeah, I think, you know, and I'll speak, you know, wearing my old last hat is, the approach should have been to pick up solid waste, only solid waste. If they didn't have enough employees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I go 3 weeks without recycles.
So I would assume that their approach would have focused on solid waste first. And try to get the compost in when you can, and recyclables would be the last item that you would try to get accomplished. And
Or a back charge. Say, we're gonna stretch all that stuff out and have hired laborers come in and separate all of that stuff at your expense.
I'll work on drafting something with Rob on a position that we can.
Because it's the community's landfill, it's not theirs, because they happen to be on strike.
Let me ask Wendy, relative to that issue with waste management, does the county have an agreement or a contract with waste management?
Yeah, I'm hitting forward on it to you right now, and it does have, it's interesting, and I spent just a minute looking through it. So it does have contamination. There are contract provisions around contaminated loads. There's also liquidated damages that I don't know that we've collected ever. There's also a strike provision, and it's unclear to me whether the strike provision puts the rest of the contract language sort of on hold. But Felipe, I think it would be a really good idea maybe for, you know, your team and me to get on the phone with our county environmental health folks who hold that contract and make sure we all are on the same page in terms of what the provisions are. And that you know when and how to, report to the county. If the county team, I did just put in a request yesterday to our county auditor to take a closer look at this contract. So I think there's a whole bunch of pieces that are all moving at the same time. And it would be great to have ReGen submit a letter that backs up the county position.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay and I would love to join the discussion as well. I would really look at the language on the force majeure within the agreement, because that's really what's gonna null a lot of the language in the contract and really see what that says there.
Who else wanted a copy of that contract? I'm hitting forward right now.
I take it as well.
Okay, I'll send it to you, Felipe, and then you can forward it to anyone who.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Interesting to find out if this results in a lot of illegal dumping that people do on their own, if things back up at their homes, because I know the illegal dumping and litter task force follows and looks for places that are,
I think
traditional dumping
there
sites.
is probably a lot of jockeying of the materials from one place to another, whether it's a personal vehicle,
Mhm.
contracted vehicle, or, can I go to Campbell's shopping center and dump it there and just do away with my trash? So I'm sure a lot of that is happening,
Mhm.
maybe not as a direct result, but the compilation of the severe disasters or whether now this, I'm just fed up, so you heard the folks that had businesses that were renting trucks to start hauling their own material because they couldn't wait 2 or 3 days for a service.
I'd suggest that relative to that which is going to be illegally dumped, I think like as Jerry mentioned, people can back up with their recyclables and they can back up with their yard waste. But when you start putting sacks of garbage out, then, either the raccoons are going to get into it or whatever, that's where you're going to have a problem with illegal dumping. I think.
Someone on Nextdoor offered $65 a can to haul your stuff.
Oh. And where were they going to haul it to?
Good question.
Yeah, right.
Load it in their truck and get it somewhere, so.
Somewhere, yeah.
I look forward to it, Wendy. If you could make that happen, that meeting, Jay and I would be happy to join the discussion.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The other thing regarding waste management is they're not publicizing this, but they are not charging overages for customers who put out more trash right now during the strikes. That's for the rest of the week. So hopefully people leave their trash out for waste management to pick up.
Even if you do hire someone, the word should go out that you request a tipping receipt so that you know it went to where it was going.
Yep.
Sometimes people pay and it ends up in a ditch.
That's a great idea.
It's an educational piece to put out there.
Do we have closed session?
Yes.
The committee came back from its closed session with regard to the agenda item having to do with personnel negotiations. In the closed session, the information was provided by staff. The matter was discussed at length. No reportable action was taken.